Okay, guys, so we've had some requests to do a visual inspection of the sewer pipe at 1850 Commons. Here's our establishing shot. We're at 1850. First step in any inspection is open the cleanout and immediately head up under the house from the clean out outside the house. So right now, just to give you an idea of where that is, this is the clean out in the front of the house to the street out this way. We're headed up under the duplex right now. So initially, the first thing we see is a little bit of solid sewage sitting in the pipe, which typically shouldn't be there. We don't think too much of it at the time. There's a little bit of water sitting in the pipe too. We go ahead and try to nudge up on past it. Again, we're right here headed up. So we see water sitting in the pipe, which probably shouldn't be there. As we get to this first cross fitting, there's water standing there. As we move on up the pipe, you can see what a normal sewer line should actually look like. There shouldn't be hardly any water sitting in the pipe itself as we get on up here towards what's going to be the second fitting. We're right about in here. You can see that the water gets mostly out of the pipe. This is what a sewer line in good condition with good fall should look like. There shouldn't be any water standing in the bottom. The blue color of the water kind of gives us a really good indication of how much water actually was sitting in the bottom of the pipe. So here we are, second fitting, looks pretty good, headed up towards the back. As we get to the third fitting, here we are at the third one, which is going to be right here. We can see it's been a little chewed up. There was some question as to what that was. I feel like after it's been rooted so many times, that pipe is getting a little bit of chew marks in it, which really shouldn't affect anything. And I don't feel like we're seeing any effect from this, because if we go up past this third fitting, which is going to be up here in the area where there isn't actually any water running through it or sewage, what we're seeing is a pretty big pile of solid waste back up in here. So that really shouldn't ever be any water up here. You can see the water flows through these and heads out, and this is just the clean out in the back, the only place that actually goes to. So what we do is I physically go around to the back and run a hose through it and try to knock some of that solid sewage loose so we can actually see what's going on. There's my hose that I use to run down pipes. You can see we've run a bunch of water through it, trying to clean it out so we can get a better idea of what's going on here. As we finally get it cleared out most of the way, you can see we're back at the fitting, and what we do is go ahead and flush the commode, and it washes out quite a bit of paper from that side. It's kind of got to the point on here where we can see not very much. We're thinking maybe the camera head is even causing some of that paper to stop up in the pipe here. So we go ahead and take it out around to the back clean out, where we're going to actually physically remove it from the front and put the camera head into the back clean out right there. So here we are at the back, headed into the clean out. Again, headed downhill from this side behind that fitting that we're having the problem with. And we can see there's quite a bit of still heavy water, if you will, raw sewage and paper. So I go ahead and run some more water to try to rinse that out and give it a couple of pokes with the camera head to get everything rinsed down. Again, the spot we're running the water from is in the back, and we're at the back clean out with the camera head looking forward this time. So we run some water, try to get everything cleared out, poke it with the camera head a little bit to knock some of that raw sewage down that's been standing in the line. Finally get it to where it's starting to clear out. As the water slowly goes down, you can see I've got it quadruple speed here. So it actually took quite a while for the water to finally clear out of this pipe. And it slowly goes on down. We wanted to have a completely clean pipe, no stoppages, no sewage sitting in it, so we'd have a good fresh start to try to do a little bit of testing and see exactly what we're up against here. And again, slowly the water goes down. We give it a flush. Slowly the water goes down. And then we wait until it's all pretty cleared out. So we're going to go inside and start flushing the commode with some paper in it as a normal flush. You'd use some paper and there'd be some solid in it. So we're try to let all the water go down before we start doing our testing. It finally dries out and we go inside and flush a little bit of paper. And again, keep in mind that that water coming up, we're behind this fitting looking this way. The water isn't coming downhill toward us, it's coming up that back fitting. This should be the highest part of the sewer system in this particular building right here. There should never really even be any water, much less sewage, into this very top part, the highest part of the available system. So what we're seeing is even from behind that fitting, that water kind of is piling up to the camera and even back behind the camera. And as it slowly goes down, you can see I've got this quadruple speed again. Slowly goes down. It's leaving behind a little bit of raw sewage, paper in this particular case, since that's all we flushed, sitting in the middle of that fitting. So we think maybe we'll flush it again and see what happens. Hopefully it'll wash this paper down if we give it another good flush, as would be typical in a sewer line. If any does stop up there, like at the front we saw, it typically will go ahead and wash on down. So we go in and give it another flush. After all the water goes down, as would be typical of a normal operation. Most people don't flush over and over right after each other, but so we let all the water slowly go down out of it. And again, you can see very slowly, this is quadruple speed right here. So we give it a second flush. Hopefully it will wash it down, but instead we actually see more solid stuff caught up in this fitting. So the only conclusion that we're coming to is that this fitting and possibly the pipe behind it, again the camera's behind that fitting up here, up from the fitting. We're seeing that both in that fitting and behind that fitting towards the back clean out, the pipe is not got the grade that it needs to let the water run downhill at a sufficient speed to carry all the sewage along out of the pipe and fitting with it. So just for the sake of argument, what I've done is I've put that original shot of this same spot from earlier in the film where we're going up from the front towards the back of the fitting, and let's cut to that. And this is what we saw originally. Back behind that fitting was the pile of raw sewage that we had to clear out. Also, when I looked through my records, I actually saw a previous camera job that we'd done after having to router that facility a couple of times. After it backed up about the third time, I came in with the camera just to see exactly what was going on. And this is a camera from 429, and we're going to be coming up towards that fitting from the front during a previous incident where it had issues and was completely backed up at that back fitting. Here's the same fitting we were at before. Ultimately, as that paper piles up because of the grade of the pipe, or lack of grade of the pipe, the low spot in the pipe, it fills the pipe completely. This is looking up into that fitting right here, that three-way fitting, and it is absolutely packed with solid sewage. This is maybe the third time that we've had to router it here on 429, and before we routed it, we took a camera just to see what exactly was going on. So this is a pretty typical incidence with this facility, particular address, and it just has a low spot around and behind that fitting that's not letting the water carry the paper on through at a sufficient speed to get it cleared out every time. As far as a maintenance issue, what I've done in that case, and I believe in this case too, is going to be take the hose and go from behind the fitting and just basically run water down it. You can see the water start to pile up and come through here where I've run the hose behind it and been poking at it. As far as maintenance, if you do that on a regular basis, keep that flushed out. That would probably be go a long way towards keeping it permanently flowing. As far as fixing it where that issue does not occur again, I don't really have a good answer. It's not something that I would be able to take on as a company ourselves. Maybe some of the bigger companies might be able to have an answer for you on how to permanently fix that issue. As far as routering it, it only needs to be routed when it's completely packed up. Like I say, maintenance with a hose would probably go a long way towards alleviating the condition caused by the problem, which is a low spot in the pipe at and behind that fitting. As always, we appreciate your business, and please forward any comments or questions to us, and we'd be happy to try to work them out. Appreciate you watching.